Hey everybody, Steve Burns here from Chromeillusion.com. So, alright, someone submitted a homework assignment on a fan that they're trying to create. Total Ideas is trying to use the array technique to get the fan blades to move around this cylinder shape here that's connected to this little bit of this tube stand here. Alright, so I can see the fan array has been applied, alright? And I did a little bit of deletion. I'm gonna go back a little further. I did an undo again just to show you the absolute original that this artist has given me. And I see it displaced here in your modifiers. And when I turn that modifier on and off, it's having no effect. All right, so I'm going to turn that off. The subdivision, I can see what's going on. I'm going to leave it. The array is not quite right. And I'm going to show you how to correct that. So I'm going to delete that array as well. Just get rid of it all, and we're going to start from scratch. And we're going to start approaching this from much more of a practical point of view. Let me turn off the subdivision surfaces visually so that we can see exactly what the artist has done. Okay, so that's how they use the geometry to create their fan. And I want to make sure that the fan blade is a 1 to 1 to 1 on the scale, which it is. I'm looking at it right here, 1 to 1 to 1. Or I can, if I'm insecure, hit Control A, rotation and scale. That's all set. Now, the first thing I want to do here is, now think about this from a very practical point of view. You want that fan to be in the proper position of where you expect it to be when you want to create your array. In other words, how is this fan blade going to look as an end result? All right, so it's not going to be down here like the way you have it. So I can only go by what I'm seeing here. So you look like you put your blade down on the bottom and expect it to rotate at the top around the cylindrical, but it's not positioned around the cylindrical object correctly. So we're going to go over here to the, get at the front to face view here. Let me hit the, there we go, go to the front face there. Now I'm going to go over here to the move option. Just going to move it on up to here. Let's go ahead and rotate this. I'm going to hit the rotate and just kind of, I'm going to manually rotate it just like so. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little closer. Go to my move command here. Move it on up, position it right about there. And I think I can probably do a little more of the rotation. Just kind of take it right about like that. I think that'll work. So if I rotate it around, okay, that's looking pretty good. So go to our move tool and I'm going to put it right about there. And I'm believing that's probably where you want your fan blades to go. There we go. I've got that position correctly. So there we go. We got the first blade position correctly. It's in the proper position where we want this to start. So what we want to do is to duplicate two more around this subject so that they're equal distant, right? So what we need to do is make sure that the fan blade orientation matches the orientation of the cylinder. Now, to make sure that the cylinder is correct, now I'm looking at your orientation, which you called empty fan, right? Now, to make this easier, I'm going to put all my empties into its own folder. So I got the empty for there for the image and the empty here for the fan. I would select them both here in the 3D view and then hit the M key for man, hit new collection, and I would simply call this one empties. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit OK, and there it is. So there's your separate folder called empties, so that if you ever need to get any of your empties, especially if you're going to have a whole bunch of these, they're all going to be listed right here in that folder. It's a nice way to keep organized. Okay. All right, so mine is called empty fan. Actually, yours is called empty fan. I'm going to make a new empty. Actually, I tell you what, I'll use your empty fan. My intention was to make a new empty. I'll use yours. So first of all, let's make the orientation to the cylinder. Make sure that is absolutely correct. So I'm gonna right click on the cylinder, origin to geometry. Boom, it's dead center. All right, I'm making sure it's dead center. The next thing I'm going to do is put the 3D cursor to match that orientation. So Shift S for my 3D cursor to select it. It's there. It was already there from the beginning, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to select my empty fan, right? I want to make sure that empty fan is selected, so I want it to be actually placed at the orientation. right? So if you take a look at this, the empty fan is not at the proper orientation. If I go to X-ray view, you can see my 3D cursor is way up here, but the empty is way back here, all right? So it doesn't have to be that, we're going to rotate around the x-axis, right? Actually said x, yeah, that's the x-axis. We're going to rotate around that, so it doesn't have to be dead center of your fan blade. It can be pretty much anywhere, as long as it's dead center of your cylinder. So what I'll do is Shift S, and this time at the top, opposite of selected to cursor, I want the selection to cursor. The selection being the selected empty, and we want it to go to the cursor. So select it, boom, there it is. So now everything is lined up, okay? So my empty is matching my orientation of both the cylinder as well as, well, not the blade. We haven't done the orientation for the blade yet. So we're going to select the blade, and we need the blade to match the orientation of the cylinder. Simple. So right click, set origin to 3D cursor. Now everything's lining up. Okay, so that looks good. So everything's lining up. So remember, we're putting the blade, practically putting the blade where we want it to start. When the fan is going to be finished as an end result, and then we're going to rotate that around our cylinder. All right, now once that's done, let's go to our array. Let's give it an array modifier. So fan is targeted. Come over here, go up here and give it an array modifier. How many do I want? I want 3 of those right there. Okay. Now if we take a look, there we go. We got 3, and it's basically arraying this along the x-axis. So that's okay. That's no big deal. So I'm gonna leave it there. Now what we're gonna do is take it out of relative offset, which is arraying it, which is all it's doing is arraying it along the X, Y, or Z, whichever one that has the 1 in the box here. So I'm going to just bring this on up, uncheck it. So when we uncheck it, we're only going to see 1 now. And I want object offset. Select it, drop down a little caret, and let's go get the object. Your object is going to be what? Your empty fan. All right, so target it, boom. There it is. See? It's all there. Okay? So now, your empty fan already had the math. Your empty, well, I shouldn't say the empty fan. Yeah, empty fan, empty, right there, already had the math in here, okay? So if I come over here to the transform, the rotation, you probably had it set up properly, but normally, if you didn't, you would go to the rotation for your axis, hit your 360 divided by 3, and it should set it up properly. Okay. But this empty, you already had those algorithms based in there before I opened the file. So there it is. That's it. Now, the last thing you need to do is to merge this or parent this to your empty. So select your blades. And then I'm going to come over here and physically select the empty last. So the empty's bright orange. That's going to be your parent. Control P for parent. Parent to the object. So why did we do this? Let's go back out of X-ray mode. Is if we go over here to the rotation view and we rotate the empty, the whole fan, all the blades will rotate with it. And there you go. Okay. If we're going to animate this. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful. And hopefully other people who see this little tutorial is going to, it'll help them as well. So once again, don't forget, when you send me your blend files, make sure that you in your file menu export data, and I mentioned this several times already. Make sure your automatically pack resources is there. When I originally opened this file, it was not checked. So your images didn't come with your file. They were not embedded with your file, okay? Okay, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and hopefully it was helpful. Looking forward to seeing everybody's homework assignments.